Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, this is Doug Brown, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have a great show for you today, and big thanks to Citrix Ready. This is a Citrix Ready episode, and they brought with them AppSense. And AppSense is, I go way back with these guys. They're just downright great people, a phenomenal technology, and just great, good conversationalists. These guys really are great conversationalists, and I think you're going to learn a lot, not only about AppSense, but about what they're doing and about the industry as a whole. So with no further ado, I have Jon Wallace and Simon Townsend from AppSense with us. So here we go, my interview with AppSense and Citrix Ready. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. I love having AppSense on. AppSense is one of my very first favorite companies, as I think I've said any time I ever talk with the AppSense people. So, but I have to throw that out there. That being said, let's get to this. I have three guys on the line today with us, so we should have a lively conversation. And so let's go around the horn and have everyone introduce themselves. So let's start with Jon Wallace. Jon, who are you, and what do you do over at AppSense?
Hey, Doug. Good to speak to you again as normal. So my role within AppSense is Chief Technologist within the Americas. So that role encompasses a number of things. The first is the evangelism side of it. So I get to go to the shows. I get to talk about our technology. I get to do our demonstrations and present our vision as an organization. I also do that with our accounts as well. So I go I go out into our field. I go to see our customers, and again, I talk about the same things there. The second part of the role is really about the business strategy itself. So we get involved, for example, with product management. We talk about the features and functionality that should be in the product going forward. In the future, we look at the vision from 3 to 5 years, and then beyond that as well. And then finally, it's just like a strategist from the business perspective. Just figuring out where we should be doing our bundles in the future, where we should be tying in with new technologies, what we should be looking at from a company vision and roadmap perspective.
Simon Townsend, can you tell us who you are and what do you do over at AppSense?
Yeah, sure thing, and thank you, Doug. And I echo Jon's comments. Thanks very much for inviting us back on the podcast again. I have a very similar role to Mr. Wallace. I'm the Chief Technologist for EMEA. So an extremely similar role in terms of what we do day to day with both customers, partners, and alliance partners, but obviously across our EMEA region in Northern Europe, Germany, France, and typically in the Netherlands as well. I also am heavily involved with our DesktopNow product management team. So being based in the UK, I'm quite privileged to be located near to that business unit. So it means I can go and spend some time with both product management and development. Very much like Jon, both of us have been with the business for well over 10 years, and I've had a number of different roles and have met with a number of different organizations of all different sizes that have actually deployed our technology. So, and both myself and Jon, again, have been working with Citrix technology for significantly longer than that as well.
Well, perfect. And we have Anil from Citrix Ready back on the line with us after a little absence. So I'm very excited to have Anil back with us. Anil, can you tell us who you are and what you do with Citrix Ready?
Hey, Doug. Excited to be here again. Hello, everybody. Hello, Simon. Hello, I'm Anil Kumar. I'm part of Citrix Ready Technical Marketing team, leading the network ecosystem. As a part of the technical marketing team, I'm responsible for supporting partner companies like AppSense who have successfully integrated and validated the products with Citrix technologies. I'm always in constant touch with all these partners in terms of updating them with new product releases, the product verifications, technical support, doing joint collaterals like webinars, podcasts with you, etc. So prior to Citrix, I've worked with companies like Fujitsu and HP, where I've worked as a Citrix administrator, handled some medium and large-scale Citrix infrastructures for some banking and finance sector companies. Basically worked on most of the Citrix's core products with Zenapps, Desktop, NetScaler, Zen Mobile, and I'm really proud of what we do here. I'm also a Citrix certified professional. So other than work, I love trekking. I'm a huge football fan. I follow the English Premier League a lot, and Manchester United is my favorite club.
We had talked about that. I've become a European for a world football fan, but we won't go there. So, but it is weird for an American to say that. That's for sure. So I even understand it. I know the rules too. Go figure. So that said, let's jump into this. AppSense. We've had you on the line. A lot of people know who you guys are, but maybe you can bring us up to date and tell us about the company and your products. Well, what are you guys doing over there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start here, Doug. I mean, just to give a little bit of a background for the people that don't necessarily know who we are. Like you said, most of your listeners will, but just to give you a background.
You bet.
AppSense itself has been in business for about 15 years. We've been doing technology in, the terminal services, the VDI, the desktop space for around about a decade and a half now. We came out of the Citrix world. So back in the mid to late 90s, there was a reseller in the UK, a company by the name of Bystorm, one of a couple platinum VARs at the time. And in essence, they were really around when Citrix was this small fledgling company out of South Florida. And, I'm trying to break through. And this was in the days that terminal services was really, really hard. We were limited memory. I mean, there's more memory today in a smartphone than there was back in the terminal servers we were first deploying, right?
That's so true.
Right. And so back in the day, we had a customer. This partner had this reseller had this customer. The customer was a bank, and they had a specific problem. And the problem was you remember the little sheep that used to run all over the desktops that do roly-polies and things like that?
Oh, God, don't remind me.
Well, right, this got sent around, et cetera, et cetera. Now, on a desktop, that was fine. I mean, it consumed some CPU, et cetera. But on a terminal server, the amount of CPU it used to consume was a disaster. I mean, one user would kick that off and the CPU would run away and people in the box wouldn't work. So the customer, in essence, wanted to stop it. So one of our consultants at the time wrote a tool that basically created a whitelist. It created a whitelist of executables that could run on the terminal server. And it was very, very successful. And, we had other customers that liked the solution, et cetera. And that was, in essence, the birth of what today is Application Manager. So that came out of a need to affect or control resource-intensive applications on a terminal server. So that also gave us a very close relationship with Citrix right from the early days. Citrix recognized AppSense as a piece of technology that could help terminal services deployments be very, very successful. After that, we created our performance management technology. After that, we created our environment management technology, and there's been various other products along the line as well. So again, I'm going to let Simon talk about some of the new stuff, some of the acquisition stuff that's happened now. But again, we've been with Citrix. We've been in a strong relationship with Citrix. We've been engaged with Citrix deployment since, if you like, our inception, and we're very proud of that. Simon, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the new stuff that's happened?
Yeah, sure. I think, I mean, what we've seen is obviously AppSense technology being deployed to a large number of Citrix environments. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that the largest Citrix environments in the world also run the AppSense technology. And over the years, we've released various different versions, and we've started to increase, for instance, the amount of support that we have for Citrix technology as well. So we started out, as John said, supporting, the likes of MetaFrame. We moved through and put some features in there specifically around XenApp. As VDI came to market, we then started to support Zen Desktop. And then we've also included support for things like the NetScalers, for instance. So we can actually start to work in conjunction with a lot of the Citrix technology. Over the last 6 to 12 months, we've been working with the guys over at Citrix closely with the Citrix Cloud piece as well. So we were one of the first partners to market to get our Citrix lifecycle management piece of work done, which obviously means that we've now got blueprints within that Citrix Cloud, allowing organizations to automate and configure the complete installation of the AppSense technology as well. In April of this year, AppSense as an organization was about 500 people in size. We had a global presence over in the US, throughout EMEA, all the way down to Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. And AppSense in April of this year was acquired by Landesk. So AppSense is now officially part of the Landesk team. So we're now a company with about 8,000 customers and about 1,200 employees. And that obviously gives us a significantly wider breadth of solutions and technologies to deliver down to our customers, but also to now go back in and again start to complement those Citrix environments with other types of technology, such as service desk tools, patching technology, and unified endpoint management.
Well, that's great. That's great. I'll never forget the first time I found AppSense or was introduced to AppSense. You guys solved so many problems for so many of my customers who was sick. It was just all there is to it. I think I sold more AppSense and installed more AppSense than I did anything else. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. So other than MetaFrame at the time, it made MetaFrame work is what it did. It solved the problems. So that being said, and then you've only made it better since then, right? And so that being said, let's talk a bit about the views. This is the Citrix Ready podcast. We are doing this with Citrix Ready. So let's ask Anil this first, but maybe a little bit on the views on AppSense and the partnership with Citrix and Citrix Ready. Anil, do you have any idea or any thoughts around that?
Definitely. So as we already know, Citrix has a strong expertise in virtualization and mobile workspaces. That's where our technology forte is, and that's what we excel in. And as you know, our solutions really empower customers to deliver secure apps and desktops anywhere on any device and on any network. So as of today, Citrix's solutions are in use at more than 400,000 organizations, and you could imagine with that kind of a number, our customers are distributed across all industry verticals with diverse technological requirements and using various applications and devices which work on top of Citrix infrastructure. And this is where we come in, right? The basic premise of Citrix Ready program is to collaborate with top technology companies like AppSense, and our aim really is to ensure that their products work in unison with Citrix's products. As John and Simon did mention that there's a lot of organizations use Citrix and the largest deployments also have AppSense in them. So we have to make sure that both our products work in unison. So as you know, this eventually helps our customers to adopt to both our products seamlessly, and then gives that added confidence to use verified solutions. And in terms of AppSense, Citrix has always look for partners who can add value on top of Citrix's infrastructure, and AppSense has been doing this so far and for over a decade now. And AppSense really adds that value to our Citrix infrastructure, providing that additional levels of personalization and endpoint security to end-user environments. And I should also really mention that AppSense is also a founding member of Citrix Ready program, and we are really proud to have them as a partner at premier level. They have always been very proactive in terms of being able to manage and support all our product suite. AppSense being one of the most engaging partners, we make sure that they always get access to our early releases, so that their product development is in line with Citrix's. And whenever there's a new release, new update, it could be major, minor, but AppSense has always made sure that their suite of products supports Citrix's products. And in terms of verifications, they are always proactive. Whenever there's a new release, we receive their verification submissions, and it's really great to it's really been great to work with them.
Yeah, well, they're just great guys. The entire team, the entire company, just great people. So yeah, I imagine so. John, Simon, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to echo some of the statements that were made there, which is, I want to talk about the partnership itself and the access that we get. It was just mentioned in the discussion there. When you grow as an organization, certainly as like a software vendor, it's very easy to become insulated, if you like. So you have certain levels within inside an organization, and in order to get to the higher levels, in order to get like resolutions to challenges or even just access to pre-release code, for example, as an organization gets bigger, that becomes more difficult. And Citrix have done a really, really good job at not letting that happen. I mean, if I just take my own experience with Citrix, for example, I have a number of the senior product managers, for example, on speed dial. I have access to the individuals that run the products themselves, and right up to conversations with senior level executives. I mean, Citrix has always been a very, very open organization, and an organization that has encouraged communication. And because of that, it's made it very easy to be a partner with Citrix. It's made it very easy for us to leverage that support and make our own products better as well.
That's great. Simon,
yeah, I think I would. I think I'll just add to that. Look, we have a team within our development organization called the Software Integration Team, and I will just speak on behalf of them and thank Citrix on behalf of them for the Citrix Ready program and what it allows that team to do. Ultimately, I think what your listeners are probably going to be most interested in hearing is AppSense, what are you doing pre-release of a Citrix technology in terms of testing, for instance, scalability testing, compatibility testing? And our software integration team is focused on ensuring that their number one job in life is to test and ensure that our software works with new versions of ecosystem technology. So they will, for instance, be testing, the latest version of the Windows 10 build. When the anniversary release comes out, they'll be pre-testing that. Before, for instance, Citrix 7.11 comes out, we get an early release of that, which means we're able to go through, test our compatibility, and most importantly, test how we scale on it as well. So because of that Citrix Ready program and because of the communication and the openness that John was referring to, it allows our own integration teams to actually be able to get on and do the testing, which ultimately benefits the customer when both new releases of AppSense and Citrix come out.
So, AppSense, well, we're talking about Citrix, but AppSense is, since your formation, you guys have definitely expanded the product into desktops, into other solutions similar to Citrix. But what specifically, maybe you can pull out a few specific things that you've done with Citrix or for Citrix that are, above and beyond.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like you said, we have a wealth of technology inside our organization that does everything from just workspace management, desktop management, if you like, all the way to security and preventing things like malware, etc. And those technologies have their place across the whole ecosystem of IT infrastructure. Everything from your terminal server, your virtual desktop, to your PC, right down to the guy who's using a tablet in the field. If we look at our DesktopNow technology itself, and I take something like Environment Manager, for example, whilst there are a number of things within Environment Manager that are generic, such as, copying files, copying folders, things like that, there are things in there that are specifically focused at terminal services. So we have a number of rules, to give you an example, a number of conditions that look at things like published application name or ICA connection, or where the client is connecting from if they're using a thin client in the field, for example. And then we have customers that are specifically using those conditions to do things like mapping printers or making sure an application is connecting to a local database. And then things as fundamental as licensing as well. If we take technology or we take applications that maybe have per device licensing, often in a terminal services world, in a Citrix world, it's very difficult to roll those applications out, or it can be very expensive given the licenses that you have to acquire. So because of some of the rules and because of some of the efforts that we put into our technology, understanding, for example, where the client is, what the client device is, whether it be a thin client, a laptop, etc., we can start to use those to control whether an application can be run or not. And that allows us then to give the organizations the ability to comply with things like device-based licensing and stuff like that. And it goes further. I mean, Simon, do you want to talk about some of the stuff that we've been doing, like with NetScaler and the cloud stuff, for example?
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. So I think I think a lot of people know us for profile management. They know that we can personalize a Citrix non-persistent desktop, as an example. And Jon's already mentioned, from day one, we've also been securing those Citrix infrastructures as well. This rules engine that Jon's been talking about has got a number of Citrix-specific conditions within it. And most recently, we've extended those out across the portfolio. So it doesn't matter whether you want to personalize an environment differently or whether you want to secure an environment differently. We can do that on a number of different Citrix factors. So first of all, we understand what the Citrix client is. Is the person running the Citrix receiver on an iPad? Are they running it on a Mac, for instance? Are they running it on a Windows device? But also, we've got NetScaler-specific rules within the product now, which allow us to actually look at, okay, well, which NetScaler did we come through? Did the NetScaler do an endpoint scan on the user's device, and did it pass? What policies what are being applied from a NetScaler and Citrix point of view, and should AppSense base some of its own security or environment management on the results of that? And that means that organizations can deploy more users of Citrix, more applications on Citrix to users that are in far more locations and have a significantly more contextual control over what those users do, even though they're accessing the same Citrix environment. It also helps lead to reduce the total number of images that you've got. Citrix has done brilliantly with, its PVS type of technology, right, and support for MCS, for instance. But ideally, everyone's just trying to get to that ideal single image. And if you've got something like AppSense installed that's controlling what the users can and can't run, and changing the environment based on all of these contextual rules about where the user's coming from and whether they're past the NetScaler policy, for instance, you can completely customize that environment all off a single image. So reduced overall cost. The second thing that I will talk about, which I think is really, really exciting for us, is the Citrix Cloud piece. I've already touched on the fact that we've got support in there for the lifecycle management, right? The CLM piece. So you can go off to Citrix Cloud and you can download the blueprint that would set up the AppSense infrastructure from the AppSense management server and the AppSense personalization server. But what's really interesting, as Citrix start to now help organizations move the management plane into the cloud and then start to move the workloads into both on-prem and off-prem cloud, AppSense is in quite a unique position, in my opinion, because how we communicate between our Citrix environment and our back-end infrastructure is all done over HTTP and HTTPS. So when we're saving and synchronizing profiles, as we do in these large on-premise organizations today, as those organizations start to move their workloads to the cloud, and no doubt there'll be a lot of organizations that will have a hybrid environment, some workload on-prem, some in the cloud, AppSense is uniquely positioned to be able to support that far better than any other profile management solution out there as well. So, powerful contextual rules engine linked in with Citrix features and functionality, and something that is cloud ready, cloud friendly, and can go at scale.
And then if I can just add something to the end of this as well, Doug, which is, don't forget, Simon talked about the acquisition at the start of this conversation, and one of the benefits that we get there is we've now got access, or we're now integrated with a much larger portfolio of products. Simon talked about Patch, for example. He talked about software deployment. And if we start to look at some of the other technologies now in our broader company, what we can bring as AppSense to those technologies is our experience and our expertise around Citrix. So, looking forward, we can now envisage, for example, patching that is specifically focused at Citrix, whether that be Zen App, Zen Desktop, maybe things like NetScaler and things like that. So there is a big opportunity now to put a substantial portfolio of technology around our Citrix offerings and bolster what we already have.
That's great. That's great. I love it. Anil, I have a question for you. Can you talk about AppSense's DesktopNow integration with Citrix Zen App and Zen Desktop, and of course NetScaler? Maybe add some value to what Simon and Jon has just talked about.
Couldn't agree more with Simon and Jon in terms of how AppSense's suite of products give that extra layer of security to Zen App, Zen Desktop, and NetScaler. I've personally had the opportunity to work on these products when I was working in Fujitsu. It was for a reinsurance company, the biggest reinsurers in Germany. I think it's Munich Re. They use AppSense, by the way, to personalize their end user profiles and to lock down the applications. I've had the opportunity to work on both AppSense Application Manager and Environment Manager, and really loved the granular insight which these products used to give in terms of securing the environment. The company I used to work had a lot of user groups. There were a lot of legacy and new applications which used to come in. The company grew over a couple of years, and there were more and more users coming in, new applications being added. But with AppSense, all these personalizations and application lockdown could be handled in just clicks of a button, and the user interface AppSense has is quite user friendly and very easy to use. And even the deployment of all these policies, once it's built, it's very simple. You just had to install these lightweight agents on all these terminal servers and make them contact to the management server. And once that's done, it used to be very easy to deploy these these new policies, and there was no downtime required in some cases. So in terms of Citrix Ready verification on how it integrates, we obviously know AppSense works on Citrix. It's been working well on our products for so many years. So in terms of verification, all we have to make sure is whenever there's a new release, in terms from AppSense or from Citrix's end, like John did mention, the software integration teams always work together to make sure there's 0-day support for the end users and customers, so that there's no critical downtimes or incidents raised. So that's how, and John and Simon already covered how AppSense can really integrate with NetScaler as well, in terms of from which NetScaler it's coming. If there was an API policy applied, if the user is connecting from an internal network or over internet. So I really love the way how AppSense can really add that security to Citrix's environments and also enhance end users' experience.
That's great. So, Simon, John, what's new in AppSense Desktop now? It's been a while since we have you on the line, so I imagine there's tons new. Can you pull out a few good chunks and share with us?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, new and out earlier this year was version 10 of our DesktopNow product. Version 10 obviously supports Windows 10 in the first point, but version 10 significantly faster logons. I think we're still, unfortunately, in a world where people want much faster logons, and there's still a lot of customers out there that are still experiencing some very slow logons. So we continue to improve on our multi-threaded engine that we use to get users logged on nice and quickly, and only bring down bits of the profile as and when we need them. We've got far more contextual control in there. We've increased, for instance, our documented APIs, so that organizations can now fully automate and call upon the Citrix technology. We've got scriptable interfaces in there as well, so that we can link into service desk products, and we can be called by things like the Citrix Lifecycle Management. We've got some new Office 365 integration to help organizations move not just to Citrix quicker, but also Office 365. And we've also got a new way in which we allow the support staff, support analysts, to manage profiles at scale. So most of the listeners will probably know that AppSense is unique in that it stores its users' profiles in a database. It's a highly scalable solution. We get DR and snapshotting and rollback out of the box. But in version 10 of our product, we now give support a new tool to manage all of those profiles at scale. So, some of our joint Citrix and AppSense customers are 80,000, 120,000, even a 200,000 seat user organization. You need a way of being able to manage profiles in bulk, for instance. So that's something that we've brought into our version 10 version earlier this year. Obviously, I mentioned earlier as well the LandDesk acquisition. So that has brought with it, as John said, a breadth of new technologies that we've got available. John's also touched on the fact that we've got a patching solution that we can combine with our desktop security offering as well. So, when it comes to patching, for instance, both online and offline VDI images, when it comes to patching your Citrix environment, when it comes to patching the applications that are deployed onto your Citrix environment, AppSense now has a solution for that. And then with the LandDesk endpoint management products, we can obviously start to look at both device IT asset management, but also software asset management. So we've actually got a very unique way in which we can go out and discover all of the devices on your network and actually manage those at both a device level with LandDesk, but then also a user level with the AppSense technology. We are getting a lot of interest from our joint capabilities around patching, application whitelisting, and privilege management. There's a lot of noise at the moment, unfortunately, around security and the Windows endpoint. The Windows endpoint is definitely under attack. You don't have to Google and search for long before you find lots of stories at the moment around ransomware, for instance, particularly if you put ransomware plus healthcare into a Google browser at the moment, you'll find far too many examples of that. AppSense is 100% focused in helping our customers prevent, for instance, cyber threats like ransomware, and it has a very unique approach to how we can secure a Windows-based desktop. Now, that's important regardless of how that desktop's being deployed. It doesn't matter whether it's running on, whether we're running on a Microsoft Surface device, a laptop, or whether we're running on a Citrix Zen app or a Citrix Zen desktop estate. Fundamentally, this isn't a challenge with Citrix or not. This is a challenge with, the Windows operating system and the applications that are being delivered on them. And 60% of ransomware that's coming through an organization's network at the moment is coming in via email. And as we know, we've all got Office 365, and we're all deploying those versions of Office onto our Windows-based desktops, on our VDI, on our Citrix. So AppSense is key in terms of making sure that we can protect those users and those desktops against ransomware. And as such, we've actually bundled the AppSense Application Manager product with the LAN desk patching technology and released something called the Enterprise Security Suite, which is both supported on a traditional desktop and on a virtual Zen app and Zen desktop environment. So that's a key area for us. We continue to build on that security message, which is interesting considering that's where the company started back in 1999. Jon, have you got anything to add?
No, I think let's just expand on the security a little bit. I mean, I think as Simon said, security is in today's world it's massively critical. I mean, it's always on the news, for example. I mean, you could say TechCrunch or CNBC Tech or anything like that, and what you're going to find is loads of stories talking about exploits, talking about malware and things like that. But the one thing that's sad to see is people are still getting exploited, or people are still getting affected by techniques in terms of malware techniques that are old. I mean, people are still getting, for example, emailed executables, or they're going to a website and downloading an executable, or they're getting a zip file, for example, that's got a malicious executable in. The thing that is still breathtaking is all of this stuff is preventable. And we are in a world where there are solutions out there that can prevent 100% of unauthorized executables from running inside an organization. We start to talk about things like 0 days and stuff like that, but the reality is that those types of exploits are still very, very rare. As Simon said, the majority of people that get infected typically get it through some form of malicious email, for example. So techniques such as whitelisting and patching your applications, I mean, these are security basics. They've always been there, and it's just things that people need to do. Now, the challenge with whitelisting, though, is it's hard, it's difficult. I mean, you can either take the approach of block the things that you don't know about, block the things that you know are bad, and then you risk letting the things that you don't know about run, or you can take the approach of let's block everything and only allow things that we want to run. And the latter of those is incredibly hard. I mean, there are thousands of executables, DLLs, etc., on the operating system that you need to list. Application Manager, Simon alluded to this. Application Manager has a very unique way of implementing whitelisting functionality. We do this through something known as trusted ownership checking. Trusted ownership checking doesn't necessarily look at the individual executable, but it looks at who introduced the executable. So, for example, in my organization, I might trust my administrators, I might trust my help desk, I might trust, for example, my Microsoft System Center installation account, for example. Anything else that's brought into the organization, if it were brought in by an account that's not one of them, I'm going to block it. It doesn't matter who tries to run it. It can be a user, it can be an administrator. It's going to be blocked. And the reason it's going to be blocked is because I don't trust the source. I don't trust the person who introduced it. And by taking this approach, what we can actually do is we can have a list of half a dozen maybe, what we call trusted owners, and we can ignore everything else. We can ignore the file name, we can ignore the file hash, we can ignore the digital certificate, for example. We don't need to bother with all of that. It makes deploying a whitelist very, very easy.
That's great, John. So you just spoke about whitelisting and how you guys do that with Application Manager. What other areas are you guys adding value in?
Yeah. I mean, so again, just expanding on it, security is big for us. So along with whitelisting, Application Manager also has the ability to do privilege management, and this is actually really, really important in a Citrix world and something like VDI and things like that. You know, a lot of organizations want to remove admin rights. Simon talked, for example, before. He said, you just Google search, for example, malware and healthcare, and you'll find an enormous amount of examples. And one of the keys to preventing the effects of malware is just remove the admin rights away from users. The problem is when you do that, applications tend to break. You have applications, for example, that just want to write to HP local machine in the registry, or they want to write to protected areas of the file system. And all of a sudden you remove admin rights and they can't do that. So the applications fail to work. What a lot of organizations will do to appease their users is just go ahead and just give the user those admin rights back. Within Application Manager, we can help with this by selectively elevating, for example, certain applications. So if you've got an EMR application that doesn't necessarily work when you remove the admin rights, what we can do is we can actually, at runtime, insert the relevant privileges, insert the relevant security groups, for example, into that application's token so that it can run, it can do the things that it needs to do without having to give the user the keys to the rest of the kingdom. And the reason this is important in a Citrix world is because, terminal servers, for example, they're shared resources, they're shared boxes. The last thing you want is a user having admin rights. So in a Citrix world, it enables us to open up the world of XenApp to applications that maybe didn't necessarily work before. I mean, still today, for me, XenApp is a massive benefit to an application that is used by thousands and thousands of users inside an organization. So when an application can't be deployed, the organization loses the benefit of that. And privilege management can help expand that environment to additional applications. And then there's other stuff as well. We do network access control, for example. Now with our new partners, for example, we can do patching and various other things as well. So yeah, security is a big focus for us. Simon, you have anything to just add to that?
Yeah, real quickly, you just mentioned application network access control, and I think Anil has got some experience of this anyway. But we did a blog post a couple of weeks back now, specifically around preventing what we called the double hop in the Citrix environment. And that's another common use case for us. It's not about protecting yourself against malware and ransomware and all the nasties. This is about actually controlling what authorized applications you can run based on where you're connecting in from. A real simple example would be a trading-based application installed on a Citrix XenApp environment. When a user is in the office and using his corporate device connected to that Citrix environment, he's allowed to run all of the applications on XenApp, including the trading application. If he then disconnects his session, which Citrix obviously supports, and he then moves to another location, another office, or goes home, or moves to another device, as he reconnects to his Citrix session, we can see that that user's context has changed, and we can then terminate and prevent that trading application from executing again. So it gives us a very granular level of control over what applications within the Citrix environment can run based on the user's context. That obviously has big security benefits in addition to things around compliance and industry regulation, for instance.
Can you guys share any specific customer success stories deploying AppSense and Citrix? I bet you guys have just tons of them. Any really juicy ones you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that definitely comes to mind, and I think it's something that we can talk about with Citrix as well, is Houston Methodist. I mean, this is a organization that uses Zen Desktop, XenApp, SharePoint. I mean, the whole array of Citrix technologies. and is also an AppSense customer as well. They're a DesktopNow suite customer, and they use DesktopNow for managing the endpoint, for managing the workspace, if you like, but also for endpoint security as well. They've got a massive amount of benefits from our technology. They took login times down, for example, from minutes right the way down to like sub 15 seconds. So if you can imagine, you went home on a Friday, Doug, and your login times up until this point were minute and a half, 2 minutes. This is something that you're used to. So on Monday morning, you walk in after the AppSense implementation, you enter your username and password, and you're just getting ready to go for that coffee. And all of a sudden, your desktop pops up. It's a very stark difference.
Well, at that point, I'm actually mad at AppSense because I no longer have time for my coffee.
That is true. You're mad at AppSense, but the thing is, as a user, you're not aware that AppSense is doing that, and I'm pretty sure your boss isn't mad at AppSense when his productivity report's going.
You got it.
I mean, this organization has got hundreds of applications, and whether this be a 32-bit or a 64-bit application, or even just a URL, for example, that points to a web application. All of these different applications need managing in specific ways. They might need shortcuts, for example. They might need certain printers mapping. They might need drives mapping. It is a complex environment, and certainly when you've got a large number of applications, a large number of users, various different pieces of technology going in, having a single framework to manage that is very beneficial, and I think Houston Methodist actually would agree with that.
Simon, any ones that you could think of, in EMEA that you want to share with us?
Yeah, there are a lot, and I think we've got some joint. If you go on the Citrix website and the AppSense websites, right, there's a number of both video case studies and PDFs that are available. 16 of the top 20 banks use both Citrix and AppSense technology together. Wow. As an example. So, there's a lot of seats and a lot of users using our technology together across the globe there. If you go and take a look at something like the National Blood, for instance, in the UK, they've been a Citrix customer for, 12, 13, 14 years probably. And they utilize the AppSense technology specifically around those security use cases that we've been talking about today. If I go over to Holland, everybody knows, the company Anil that does all the surfing, all the surfing gear, for instance. They're a big ZenApp customer, and they need to improve user experience, to Jon's point. So Citrix and AppSense are working together there. We've got healthcare over here. NHS Bolton is another video case study that you can find on our website, where we've actually helped users move from a traditional desktop environment onto a Citrix environment significantly quicker. And I think there's an important point just quickly to make there, which is, we've got some very cool technology that will allow you to take an existing local profile or roaming profile and suck it into AppSense so that you can move users onto Citrix significantly quicker and with less impact in terms of user experience. So we tend to do that a lot. If I take a look at Australia, all the way down there in Sydney and Melbourne, someone like Hassel, who's a design firm, for instance, again, very public about the success of their own Citrix and AppSense projects and how well we've worked together down on the other side of the world. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I definitely want to address the sort of the elephant in the room, right? Citrix has recently acquired Northscale to help with user profile management. Can you talk a bit about that acquisition? Maybe if people think, well, this solves everything, why would I need AppSense anymore? Does it? And just that, what's your response when people say, hey, well, Citrix just bought Northscale?
Sure, Doug. I can take that one initially. We're obviously super excited to see Citrix acquire the Northscale technology. The Northscale technology has been around for quite some time. It was well loved by the Citrix community, and when it comes to profile management technology. Citrix obviously already had their Citrix User Profile Manager, and what they've now done is complemented that technology with the NorthScale technology, allowing them to both increase user experience, but also help set up a Citrix ZenApp Zen desktop environment significantly better. I think you probably hit the nail on the head. You sort of spoke about them acquiring a profile management technology. AppSense for a long time has spoken about how it is a secure user environment management company, and profile management is ultimately just a small subset of that. We've spoken a lot today about how, for instance, our application manager technology can add increased value into a Citrix ZenApp Zen desktop environment in terms of securing and improving the stability of those environments. But AppSense is still very much focused and still believes that it has a unique approach to how it does profile management at scale as well. I think it's also important to note that we obviously can work across the entire Windows estate as well. So AppSense is commonly used, although 70% probably of our customers have got Citrix somewhere in their environment. AppSense really provides a single pane of glass when it comes to user management across the complete estate. So as we move into a more hybrid type of world, we've now got users that are logging on and consuming applications locally. They're consuming published applications that come down from Citrix, full-blown desktops that are coming down from VDI, and in the future applications that are coming, or desktops and applications that are coming from the cloud. So AppSense's focus is really about how we can manage that user completely from a security, a user experience, a profiles, and a performance point of view across that entire estate. And that's really where I would suggest that we continue to be unique and we continue to build on. But, look, ultimately, we're very, very pleased to see Citrix make a move into the space and validate this market. And it's great to see that Citrix is listening to its customers and addressing some of the challenges that its customers are having and providing a solution. And in the same way that Citrix continues to build on top of the Windows-based platform, AppSense will continue to deliver additional value and functionality on top of what we do today.
Thanks very much for the kind words, John and Simon. But Citrix has always remained committed to provide the best secure app delivery user experience for our customers, and this is one of the key reasons why customers choose our products and services, as you know. In terms of the NorthScale acquisition, this is just another testament to our commitment in this area. The NorthScale, to talk a bit about the NorthScale environment, it's another workspace environment management solution that complements, as Simon rightly put, it just complements our existing profile management technology to deliver the best possible workspace performance in terms of desktop logon times and the application response times for a truly dynamic virtual user workspace for every user. We think that this will bring a tremendous amount of performance and scalability value to our market-leading ZenApp and Zen desktop products. And we will continue to work with partners like AppSense, who offer additional solutions, that additional layer of security for customers, building on the core functionality of Citrix's offerings.
That's great. So I have a couple more questions. We're getting almost to the end of this podcast, but I have a couple more questions I want to make sure I ask you guys. So, and this is a question for both Anil and then the AppSense guys, so John and Simon. So how does your product complement Citrix products? And really, we've talked about this, but I'll ask it and let you guys answer it in more of a pointed, answer.
Yeah. So I think, we over the last 45 minutes or so we've been speaking, I think we've covered a significant number of areas where we work with Citrix, or we can help Citrix, or we can enhance, if you like, the experience for customers that are deploying Citrix technologies. I think for me this is just a simple one, which is we have the same customers at the end of the day. The same people who are deploying Citrix are the same people that are looking at AppSense technologies, the same people that have the problems that we both address. And from a person that's been in the field and seen these deployments happen, one of the things that I will say is that when Citrix and AppSense are both deployed together, there is a greater chance of success for that project. So if an organization, let's say an organization is deploying VDI, as you know, Doug, VDI encompasses a load of other things around the side as well. VDI, you need profile management, you need login script management, you need workspace management. There might be a patching solution in there, for example. There might be application virtualization. You might need to configure data sources. I mean, there is a whole array of considerations just to deploy a VDI, deploy a VDI project. And when AppSense is taking care of a lot of that, let's call it environmental complexity, it leaves the customer to focus on the core deployment of the VDI technology, the core deployment of, let's say, the provisioning server, for example, or the brokers that go out there. And at the end of the day, when all of this comes together and that first virtual desktop is deployed, and that user logs on in sub 15 seconds, for example, and their applications just work, that for me is success. And when a customer has success, projects are more likely to be approved. Projects are more successful and typically get deployed faster.
You got it. Anil, anything to add there? You did the validation on all this stuff. I imagine you have a lot to add there. So anything else?
All right. I mean, I cannot agree more with what Simon just told. And in terms of verification, and as I did mention, I've worked on these products in my previous companies, and I'm proud to tell that I'm a huge fan of the AppSense suite of products. Obviously, Citrix, with the examples Simon and John have given, and with the kind of customers we have, the joint customers we have, we always hear these stories where Citrix and AppSense working together has really improved how their IT infrastructure completely, how their users are experiencing better logon times, better management of their desktops, and in terms of updating patches, etc. So I'm a huge fan of the way AppSense products works on Citrix's, the way how it complements with Citrix's and AppSense and desktop and the Netscaler.
That's great. And I tell you, I'm a huge fan of it too. I have been since I was introduced to AppSense. Their technology is at the top of the shelf, right? As good as it gets, and their people are better, which is amazing. It's just I deal with a lot of companies. One of my favorite things about my job is the reach. Is the amount of companies and the amount of solutions I've seen over the past 15 years. And AppSense is always has a special place in my heart, and I think always will. And I thoroughly mean that. So my last question for you guys, and this is the easy one. This is the fun one. This summarizes everything, right? Why Citrix and why AppSense, and why Citrix and AppSense together?
I think it comes down to a joint vision, right? I mean, ultimately, what are we trying to do in IT? We are trying to deliver, we're trying to enable our users to be productive, to drive our business, to make our businesses more successful. And user productivity is directly linked to user experience. And, we've got a younger generation of people. We've had the consumerization of IT, for instance. People's expectations now are significantly higher than they've ever been. People want a simple, easy to use, performant experience. And if you take a look at Citrix and AppSense, the two things that they continue to demonstrate is that they can deploy desktops, applications, and data down to users anywhere in the world on any single device and do it in the most secure way, but also do it in the best way that improves that user experience. And whilst Citrix and AppSense have got that common vision and goal in mind, then AppSense and Citrix are always going to be better together.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that, Doug, I mean, for all the reasons that Simon's just said, look, I mean, I'm a technologist at heart, and for me, I love Citrix. I love Citrix as an organization, and I love the Citrix technology. Citrix, for me, have always pushed the boat. Right back from early days of terminal services and the pioneering work that they did in terms of squeezing out the bandwidth, if you like, in the protocol to stuff that they tried, the portaling as an example, and even stuff that they do today, the OctoBlue stuff. I mean, they're always pushing the boat. They're always pushing the boundaries. And, as an organization, for me, Citrix is exceptionally visionary, and they're just a brilliant software organization. So when we pick partners, or when we choose to go to market, or when we choose to address a certain customer base, I actually don't think that there are many who are better than Citrix to go to market with. Their team are exceptional. Their management team are exceptionally friendly. Their customers are smart customers. So for me, I mean, I would struggle to find anyone better to go to market with than Citrix. And from an AppSense and Citrix together thing, I just think that, hey, we've both got cutting edge technology. All of the things that Simon's just said, I echo. We really go to market with the best of the best technology, and that's good.
I agree. Anil, anything to add there from the Citrix side?
Right. Thanks very much. So Citrix's and AppSense's partnership dates back to several years, as you know, and our customers really love using Citrix and AppSense together. User environment management and end user experience has never been more important with the kind of present day threats which Simon did mention earlier, with the kind of ransomware, etc. And also the demand from employees these days to be able to work from anywhere, work shifting, able to connect from any device. So all these challenges have been addressed by Citrix and AppSense together in a very efficient manner, so that both employees and the IT is very happy. And I really love I really love working with the AppSense team, and I really encourage more and more of our customers to use AppSense and Citrix together in their environments.
Guys, thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. We always have a great time when AppSense comes on the podcast, and I really enjoyed this. It's equal to any of my favorite ones. So what do I say? But thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this, and I'll go ahead and give you the last word.
Yeah, just to echo, thanks, Doug. Simon and I always enjoy these conversations. We always have a lot of fun, and it's great talking through things. So I definitely look forward to our next one as things progress with our new products and our future. And Simon.
I'd continue saying, look, anyone that's interested in anything that we've spoken about today, get in contact with myself or John, ping us on Twitter, send us an email, go to the AppSense website, speak to your local Citrix partner, because that Citrix partner is probably an AppSense partner as well. Feel free to download, try any of our software, go onto the Citrix cloud, look at the CLM and the lifecycle piece, right? And get involved and put our software to the test.
All right. Thanks very much, Simon and John, for joining in today for this podcast from Citrix Ready team. You've always been an outstanding partner with us, and in terms of Citrix and also with the Citrix Ready team. Do look out for AppSense and Citrix Ready Marketplace, where you could find all their demos, user guides, and also contact lens to contact AppSense.
Okay, that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. Thank you, John. Thank you, Simon, so much for taking the time to come on the show. And of course, big thanks to Citrix Ready for making these Citrix Ready podcasts happen. I really enjoy it. They're just sending me a lot of great solutions that I might not have the opportunity to chat with, right? So thank you so much, Citrix Ready, for making this happen. And if you do like it, definitely tell a friend. That's how we grow. So if you like it, tell a friend. I would appreciate it. And you know what? I think that friend would too, because they'd say, wow, this is great. I never knew about these great podcasts. I never knew I could learn so much just driving in my car while I'm working out. I recently went to the gym. I rode a bike for an hour and a half straight. I can't believe I did it. Really enjoyed it. And the entire time I listened to podcasts. So I didn't listen to mine because I record them. But I listened to other people's podcasts, and I really, really enjoyed it. And unfortunately, I had to leave after the hour and a half. I could have sat around for another half an hour. And I think I will soon because I have a podcast to finish. And on that note, the most important people, like I mentioned, is you. So if you enjoyed it, tell a friend. Head on over to dabcc.com for the latest and greatest cloud, virtualization, end-user computing, mobility news, and support resources. Head to the App Store, your favorite App Store, and download the DABCC news apps and the DABCC podcast app. All you have to do is go to the App Store, search, be it Apple or Android, and search DABCC. Up will come the apps. Download, have at them. Let me know what you think. Okay? And what else do I say? But thank you very much for listening to DABCC Radio.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.